My first question is, why are they still calling this guy Jose Padilla? Huh? He changed his name. I don't know if you know that or not, but he changed his name. His name is Abdullah al Muhajir. Something like that. So the very fact that these newspapers are calling him Jose Padilla is misleading and bogus. He ain't Jose Padilla. He is Abdullah al Muhajir. Okay? Let's just get that straight from the very first. Next, from Newsday.com. Padilla was finally allowed the due process Americans should be able to take for granted. But his conviction, however deserved, doesn't eliminate the need for the Supreme Court to answer this question. Does the Constitution permit the government to lock up an American citizen for 3.5 years without charges, legal counsel, or trial, simply by labeling him an enemy combatant? I don't know why there should even be any question about that. The answer is yes. As soon as some scumbag gets labeled an enemy combatant, which has a legal definition, then he has no constitutional rights whether he's a U.S. citizen or not. You go around fighting in holy wars, you get trained in Al-Qaeda camps, you hatch a plot to blow up a dirty bomb in the United States, and trust me, you're going to get labeled an enemy combatant. You ain't a soldier in any known national government. You ain't wearing no uniform. You ain't carrying no flag. You got nothing. You're not a soldier. You're not protected the Geneva Conventions. You are an enemy combatant. The issue is urgent. Ooh. If and when Padilla appeals the ruling that he was fit to stand trial despite years of isolation, the court should make it clear that his treatment was a constitutional outrage. They kept him in a cell, all by himself. They didn't allow him any neighbors for any human contact. And this is supposed to be inhumane treatment? They kept him isolated for 2 or 3.5 years. If unresolved, anybody could be snatched in public, as Padilla was, dumped in a brig and held indefinitely without recourse. Now that line is just a flat-out lie. It says, if unresolved, anybody could be snatched in public. Anybody? They didn't just randomly go to an airport and pick this guy out. It wasn't just anybody. He was a known terrorist, a known enemy combatant. All right? This guy had already been to an Al-Qaeda training camp. He'd already fought in civil wars around the globe in this mujahideen role, waging jihad against legitimate governments. This is a terrorist. Anybody snatched in public? Come on. They didn't just snatch anybody. From the New York Times. Oh boy, we all know what these people think, don't we? Padilla case offers new model of terrorism trial. Well, let's hope so. They want to complain here about the fact that there's no need to show any particular violent crime occurred in order to convict this guy under conspiracy charges. So what? That's the way conspiracy charges have been since the beginning of freaking time. If they catch the people in the process of planning their little act of criminality, then good for them. They caught them before they could actually accomplish the crime. Does that mean they're not criminals worthy of conviction? Hell no. Come on. It's ridiculous. The strongest piece of evidence in Mr. Padilla's case was what prosecutors said was an application form Mr. Padilla filled out to attend a training camp run by Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan in 2000. Yeah, this is what prosecutors said was an Al-Qaeda form. Come on. This document was captured in the field in Afghanistan in an Al-Qaeda training camp. Alright? Had Padilla's fingerprints all over it. Now come on. What prosecutors said was an application form? It was an application form. And this Muhajir guy, aka Padilla, he filled it out. Conspiracy charges against Mr. Padilla are highly amorphous, and it basically allows someone to be found guilty for something that is one step away from a thought crime. Actively? Now, granted, this Padilla guy didn't get actually charged with the dirty bomb thing that he was conspiring to do, because they didn't have enough proof to actually prove that one. So what? They did prove, rather easily, that he was a mujahideen in the field fighting jihad against various governments. That's all they needed to prove. This is a thought crime now? Actual actions out in the field are thought crimes? Before allowing Mr. Padilla to be tried in federal courts, the administration justified holding him as an enemy combatant in part by saying he would be dangerous if let go. Criminal prosecutions, by contrast, are almost always focused on conduct already committed. They're almost always on both. What he's going to do what he's done in the past, what he's going to do in the future. Preventing crimes is what the criminal justice system is all about. In most cases, it also happens to include actual charges and convictions for past wrongdoing. But the fact that they get those charges and get those convictions means that that son of a bitch is never going to do anything again. Well, at least till he gets out of jail. Oh, by the way, Padilla admits himself that he engaged in planning to execute that dirty bomb plan. There's no question about that either. He admits it. They're wrapping up here. The New York Times. That sort of intensive and isolated interrogation, which Mr. Padilla lawyers have said caused him lasting psychiatric problems, boo-hoo-hoo, could not have been accomplished in the criminal justice system where the Constitution guarantees legal representation and other due process protections. That's because the Constitution doesn't cover enemy combatants. All right? Scumbag here, Mr. Mujahideen, he's an enemy combatant. He gave up his rights to citizenship and the Bill of Rights protections when he decided to engage in terrorism. Alright? Just that simple. We'll give the New York Post the last word here. New thinking is needed. The Bush administration declared Padilla an enemy combatant and then ran into problems with the legal system. The lesson in this case is not that the courts are an effective tool in the war on terror, but that they can often impede its prosecution. I agree wholeheartedly. They shouldn't even be in the criminal justice system. They should be in a military tribunal. Enemy combatants do not have rights. Thank you very much. This is Jack Midknight signing off from Sunset Lake. Adios, amigos!